Okay, well, look, first of all, Ayrton Senna, I think we can all acknowledge, was one of the true greats who deserves to have his name revered by all motorsport fans. And I was very lucky to have the opportunity to work alongside him and to learn from him as a young driver. His death was tragic, like any fatality at any time. Very public, of course, because Formula One is a public sport. And that led to my opportunity, and I could not replace him. But all I could do was honour him by giving 100%. So I always gave 100% in my career. The record books show how good or bad I was. But I think that the fact we still talk about Ayrton is testament to just what a legacy he left in the sport. Fast forward to where we are today, and I think that we're also witnessing an era where what Red Bull have achieved since they bought what was an average Formula One team is incredible. They've redefined an era, not only as a successful manufacturer, owner of a Formula One team, but the way they've gone about it. You know, even today, you walk down the pit lane, the music's pumping out of the Red Bull garage. This is very much the Red Bull. The owners may get older, but the spirit is what do the young mechanics, the men and women that are building these cars, what's their way of working, rather than trying to force them to work like we all used to work. When I remember, I'm old enough to, when you went to nightclubs when I was a teenager, you had to wear a tie and a jacket. Today you don't have to wear a tie and a jacket to go to a nightclub, thankfully. But that was the era. So the point of that is that things evolve over time, and I think we have to live for our time. And I think the Red Bull have energized, actually, but convenient word, as an energy drink, but they've energized the Formula One paddock and changed the spirit, and then become very successful because they've empowered people to build a successful Formula One team. Max and Lewis's battle last year, I think, will go down in the history books as a sort of Prost Senna or a Schumacher Hakkinen or whoever the big battles, Lauda, James Hunt. Incredible battle, an emotional roller coaster where both drivers ultimately deserve to win the title, but there could only be one winner. And in that respect, Max, I think, represented change, and I think he thoroughly deserved to walk away as champion, because Lewis was such a great existing champion and great adversary. And yeah, Max already, in my mind, is unquestionably one of the great drivers in the history of the sport. Even though he has only won one World Championship, the way in which he won that championship, the way in which he wins his Grand Prix, the maturity he shows for such a young person, I think, is all credit to his mum and dad. His mother was an accomplished kart racer, his father was a Grand Prix driver, so he has racing blood, and that gives him maybe an advantage against the other drivers. So modern Formula One has lost a lot of performance in weight, but then they've gained a lot of performance in horsepower and the contact patch at the size of the tyres and the downforce. So the end result is they're very fast cars, but because there's no refueling, they start the race with 100 kilograms of fuel, which means times 3/10 for every 10 kilograms. So the lap time at the beginning of a Grand Prix is 8, 9, 10 seconds slower than qualifying, and then it gets faster as the race goes on. The era I raced, we had refueling, so the cars were lighter, so we were within 2-3 seconds of qualifying, and it was a little sprint. So the name Formula One is the same. The journey from lights out to checker flag is a different journey, but it's still the fastest race cars in the world. It's still where most drivers would like to aspire to be, but of course it doesn't mean that sports car drivers or rally drivers or IndyCar drivers or MotoGP, whatever, anyone that's involved in any form of motorsport understands it's about human being and vehicle being in harmony. And when you have these moments of harmony, you have beautiful performances. When that harmony is not working, you have a big crash or something. Well, it's very difficult to sort of compare being a Grand Prix driver with working in television, talking about Formula One. I guess the link is the fact that when I'm talking about it, then I can understand a little bit what the driver is thinking about. I'm, of course, I'm not Max Verstappen, who's an exceptional driver, who's won the World Championship and is
Well,
going to win it again this year.
Well.
But I had my moments. But what I see my role is not to go, hey, Max, when I won Monaco, this is how it felt. I think my role is to go, hey, Max, that was an incredible race. Explain to the people at home what this felt like or what were the challenges. So I'm just there to facilitate his voice and his communication to the fans of the sport. You know, when I was a kid, I wanted to hear from the drivers, and that's what I think a lot of people want to hear from today. So the only reason I'm in that role is, I guess, because I used to do it, therefore I can talk about it on British TV. But being a Grand Prix driver is, 90% pain and frustration for 10% of success and pleasure. And I think that's the same of any professional sport. Nobody dominates or nobody wins all the time. In boxing, of course, maybe you win more often than you lose, but let's say in other sports like Formula One or football or tennis, you're not winning every single time because that's just not the way it is. There's always going to be somebody on a given day that has better potential or opportunity. So I think that in itself is very rounding as a person because it helps you understand how to deal with success, the pleasure of that, and how to deal with disappointment and frustration. I had an experience where my son is racing karts, and a couple of weeks ago, and I don't get to go to many of these races because I'm at Grand Prix working in television, but I spoke to him on the Saturday and he was so frustrated and so disappointed that he got held up in qualifying and he was not starting where he wanted and he had tears of frustration. And I was like, son, I understand, but let me assure you, when I was 30 years old, I was in tears of frustration having had a bad qualifying for the British Grand Prix. These tears are not something that are exclusive to being a child. Yeah. These tears are because of passion, frustration, desire. And the moment you stop having the tears is the moment where you've lost the passion, and that's the moment when you should stop. So, what I can share with him is that if he doesn't like that feeling of crying from frustration, he should stop now because there's many more moments.
If you don't like pain, well, don't do it.
Don't do it, yeah, absolutely. So, it's an emotional roller coaster, I think, being a sports person and working in television. I don't win, I don't lose.
Yeah.
But I have some days where I go, wow, what I've just seen is truly impressive. And there's other days I go, well, that was a bit boring.